Welcome,
Hello.
everyone.
Oh.
I can see some of you joining with your cameras.
Yeah.
I said to the group that we had on this morning, it's been quite a momentous day for me today. I turned up and had my first jab, so I'm now on the road to the way out of all this, thank heavens. And hopefully a lot of you on this has also had your jabs and are feeling like we're starting to see the far side of it, which is pretty wonderful for us all. Just a bit of my normal housekeeping before we start. If you haven't already done so, touch your screen and click the microphone button so you've got a red line that goes through it. That will then mute your microphone, which will mean it's much easier for Dan when he's doing his presentation to us. So if you do that, that will be great. And my other real big one, please, this is all about having a two-way session and you getting out of it what you want. So if Dan doesn't answer a question that you want answering, put it in the group. If he actually says some things, you think, oh, I wonder what he means by that or whatever, or you've got a question, please ask away in the chat function. So tap your screen, type the question into the chat, and I will ask them all of Dan at the end of the session. Hopefully we'll put him on the spot with some tricky ones that will catch him out, but we'll see how good he is. We'll find out.
Please do keep me on my toes.
So we are joined this afternoon by Dan Jackson from Exodus. And what I would say, and I don't think I'll be stealing his thunder in what he's going to say, is that increasingly, particularly over maybe the last 5 years or so, there is a growing demand for our customers, not just to go on holiday and fly and flop, but to experience more, immerse themselves more in destinations, and just get more involved. And that's where Exodus fit in, and why we're delighted to be working with Exodus to sell holidays, because they offer such a great range of that type of stuff. And hopefully, once you've heard Dan for half an hour or so, you'll be enthused to do something from the fantastic product range that they offer. So without further ado, Mr. Jackson, I will pass over to you, sir. Over to you.
Miles, thank you very much for that lovely introduction. They're not normally that positive. Thank you for having me, and good afternoon, everybody in the West Country and Wales or wherever you might be tuning in from. Thanks very much for coming along. I really appreciate it. Hope you've got yourself a cup of tea. Nothing stronger than that. We'll open the gin afterwards, okay? But what I'm going to do is have about a half an hour, 35-minute chat on the world of Exodus and how we do things, and hopefully give you a bit of inspiration and give you an idea of what you can look forward to booking. And just a little bit about me, Dan Jackson. I'm the UK agency sales manager for Exodus Travels, and I've worked for the company for 20 years. So by now, hopefully, I've got a reasonable understanding of what we do. I've taken quite a few of these trips. I've taken Miles Morgan and the staff on these trips, and I'm very proud to say we have been in partnership with Miles Morgan Travel for over a decade now. Just to give you a bit of background, a little bit of history for those of you that don't know too much about Exodus. We have a long history. I think it's really important, our heritage, how we started, and an important fact to me, and one that I'm very proud of, is that Exodus are the UK's longest established soft adventure tour operator. We have a 47-year history. We were founded in 1974. And in those days, well, I was going to say, traveling was a bit easier. It was quite simple. You loaded a truck up, you found 20 hippies around the Earl's Court Road in London, and we would undertake some pretty epic, demanding, long-haul truck trips through Europe, Central Asia. Some of our first trips went through Turkey, Syria, Afghanistan. Funnily enough, we're not operating that one at the moment, and would end up in Nepal, from where we would start our trekking trips in the Annapurnas and Everest Mountains. Those were the pioneering days of overland truck trip style of adventures, if you like. But I think for those of you that maybe don't know about our background, it's so important to say that we have this longevity. We're really experienced. The staff are very experienced in putting together these wonderful itineraries. It's got a lot softer since the 70s. It's got much more comfortable. shorter duration trips. We're not doing long haul truck trips anymore for 6 weeks at a time. But what we do have now is an extremely well thought out, well crafted and professional offering of guided tours to around 450 itineraries to all 7 continents to 90 countries. And one of the most important things to me, there's a couple of areas I think you can really benefit from and get the most out of your holiday. Holidays are precious, even more so now. And you want to make sure you're booking with a reputable, high quality operator. Small group travel is really important to us. Some companies will wax lyrical about taking small groups of 25 people. To us, a small group is a maximum of 16. The group sizes with us average between 10 and 12 clients. Sometimes there might only be 6 to 10 clients on your trip with a local guide. Invariably, local guides are taking you around their country. They know Vietnam, Costa Rica, Peru, Amalfi better than a British guide in nearly all cases. So 90% of our guides will be local to the area that you're traveling to. Pedigree, quality and expertise, hugely important now. I'm sure some of you have had the misfortune of having holidays cancelled, given what's gone on. You want to get it right. You know, holidays are precious, as I say. We want you to be booking, talking to the staff at Miles Morgan and booking with a reputable operator. Our awards, the ones that I think, well, they're all important, but particularly the Which recommended provider, of which for 5 consecutive years now, Exodus has been in the top 5 escorted tour providers. The most recent survey was July last year. Regular winner at the British Travel Awards for wildlife tours, escorted tours, and walking. And I think a key one as well, Wanderlust Guide of the Year. A lot of our guides are shortlisted. I'm sure some of you subscribe to Wanderlust magazine. That's a really prestigious award for highlighting the skills, the dedication, and expertise of our guides. We pride ourselves on a huge amount of loyalty and repeat business. Our repeat business levels are around 40%. I know many clients who have done over a dozen Exodus tours. It's really important to us, the feedback. It's really important that we act on feedback. We encourage it. It's the way you improve as a company, and we want to know what you, the clients, are thinking, so you can get regular feedback, updates on all of our tours, which is I think, a very positive thing for you. So with Exodus, we are an adventure tour operator. And over the years, in fact, if I had a pound every time I said this, I'd probably live in a nicer house. But I've been talking about this for many years. Just because we are an adventure tour operator, please don't think our clientele base is a bunch of 20 or 30 something backpackers who are camping halfway up a mountain, eating pot noodles and running around trekking and living, you know, very basically on these tours. That absolutely is not the case. Average age of an Exodus client is mid-50s. A lot of our clients are in their 60s, so it's not an age thing. This product is not targeted towards 20 or 30 somethings. Most of our clients are in their 50s and 60s. Quite a lot of our clients are solo travelers. It's approaching 40%. And I think what really makes it for solo travelers is the inclusive, relaxed nature of these tours. So you're thrown together in a group of people that you don't know when you depart the airport in the UK. When you arrive, when you've had your trip, you have shared memorable experiences with like-minded travelers, and solo travelers are made to feel very welcome. a split of male and female. The female travelers now are at 58%. We've seen this grow over the last few years. Also, female guides. Lots of our guides are female now, just because it's adventure travel. It's not a male-dominated world anymore in terms of guiding in various countries, which I think is really, really important. And the last stat is the repeat booking level approaching 40%, which any company that's take away about 50,000 clients a year, to get nearly 40% repeat business in a very competitive area, I really think speaks for itself, and is a very proud fact for the company to talk about. Another area of Exodus that I think is really important to us, that possibly isn't as obvious to some, is our commitment to responsible tourism and sustainable travel. I know a lot of you and a lot of our regular clients view their holiday as much more than just ticking off a place to visit. How do we do it? What do we see? Do we leave a footprint? Are we making a difference to some fragile remote communities that we take our clients to? The answer absolutely is yes, we do make a difference, and have been doing for many, many years. We've always had various projects at Exodus where clients can go and visit to see the work that's gone on the ground. One of the newest projects we've got is the partnership with Rewilding Europe to launch Nature and Carbon Corridors project and rewild 100 square meters of Italian Apennine land for every passenger who travels with us. A lot of our wildlife tours have raised money, and clients have given back themselves to areas like Bandhavgarh in India for tiger viewing trips, mountain gorillas in Rwanda. But the people, without the guides, without their commitment, enthusiasm, personality, Exodus wouldn't be around. And we pride ourselves on giving as many opportunities as we can to female porters on Kilimanjaro. Nepal suffered a devastating earthquake several years ago, around this time of year, March, April time. Exodus clients raised £300,000, and that money has been spent on rebuilding homes, hospitals and schools in the Kathmandu Valley, to some rural communities that were absolutely devastated by this earthquake. So it's hugely important to us that our clients are aware that, yes, of course, we are a business, but there's more to it than that. And when you've worked with local partners, in many cases for between 15 and 20 years, and you see the feedback they get from our clients regarding the guides, the service, how out of their way they went to make sure the group was happy and having a good time, it really is important to us. I'm not going to dwell too much on the pandemic, because if I do, I'd need a large glass of gin rather than the glass of water that I've got next to me. But it's pretty important to us now that as a customer, you have flexibility, you have complete financial protection, a COVID refund commitment. We have all of these in place: flexibility on dates, guaranteed refunds, and the 4-tier travel safety charter that we have introduced regarding extended enhanced cleaning protocols. The small group vibe that we have is really important, just having perhaps 8 to 10 people in a group. Specialist guidance, we have got very, very good procedures in place at Exodus to keep you, our clients and our agents at Miles Morgan updated with all the latest news in a situation that does change and evolve very, very quickly. So on these 450 itineraries that you can choose from, we operate at Exodus in a variety of ways. Some tours are going to be more active. The bulk of our clients are doing escorted tours that are more about natural beauty, wildlife, and sightseeing. without doing too much in terms of walking or cycling. We have tough trips. We have trekking in Nepal, trekking in the Mont Blanc region, top right there. However we operate a tour, wherever you're traveling to with us, we try and avoid bland and boring and corporate and business-like hotels. So whether it's Morocco and staying in a riad, an eco lodge in the Amazon, either in Peru at Tambopata, in Costa Rica, Bolivia, we will take you and make sure we source accommodation that invariably is locally owned, but also is chosen for character and for location, i.e. in the heart of the game reserve, in the heart of the rainforest, in the mountains, the Trulies that we use in Puglia, even the Ice Hotel in Sweden on some Arctic trips. We've got some fabulous Northern Lights trips as well, which over the last 5 years have really gained in popularity. So adventure is a word that I'm loath to sort of use sometimes because it can put people off. But adventure to someone might be trekking in the mountains. To somebody else, it's walking around the souks of Morocco and looking at the bargains and bartering and haggling. It really does depend. With 450 tours, Exodus has most areas pretty well covered. The theme of our tours and the way we operate and the way the guides work is they're relaxed, they're fun, they're friendly, but very informative, very educational. And that's where the skills of the local guides come into play. It's really important, obvious thing to say, but choosing the right itinerary sounds completely obvious, but it can be difficult. And this is where the staff at Miles Morgan, because we have a partnership that's over a decade long, because they know me and the trust is there, they can talk you through the right itinerary. Because there's plenty of scenarios whereby if you're in a relationship and it's two people booking, one half of the couple might be more into the walking than the other half. Well, if you go to an area like Andalusia and the Cortia Rosario here, when you spend the whole week in the same accommodation, the great thing is you don't have to do a day's walk. You don't have to go to Ronda or the Alhambra if you want to miss out. If you want to read a book by the pool and relax, you can do that. And that's really important. We have some really nice quality accommodation. I think it's an area that over the years, if you were to put me on the spot, which I know Miles likes to do and probably will do at the end, you just say to me, what key differences have I noticed in my 20 years? The level of comfort, the facilitation, the quality of the hotels. We've got 4-star properties. We've got premium tours. You are not roughing it on an Exodus tour. Quite a few will have swimming pools now, even spas and wellness centres. The days have long gone where you roughed it, but what we will never change is that if you are going to a region such as the Amazon, we will use eco lodges. We're going to get you right in the heart because we want authenticity. You're paying a lot of money to go on holiday. We will source the right locations, the right guides, and if your aim is to see wildlife, bird watching, we will recruit experts in Tambopata here in Peru, in the Peruvian Amazon, on our Inca Trail and Amazon trip that will take you down the river, canoe trips, Oxbow Lake, bird watching, tell you all about the flora and fauna, the trees, the plants, presentations in the evening by the local staff, the local experts who are highly qualified. That to us is what's important about your trip. Of course, you need good accommodation, but occasionally, if you're in a remote area, it will be quite basic on certain tours. Other tours, such as Sri Lanka, vaguely remember having a party here very, very late into the night with a group of travel agents. I'm pretty sure, and this is a true story, I was having a dip there in the pool. This is Sigiriya. Some of you have probably been. I left my mobile phone on one of the chairs and a monkey pilfered it from one of the trees. Anyway, that's a side story. I just remembered that. Sri Lanka, I would say, is a classic Exodus destination in that you've got some jungle, you've got some trekking, you've got highlands, you've got tea plantations, you've got Candy, Sigiriya, Dambulla caves. You've got really interesting, long heritage and history, but you've got nature. You've got wildlife at Yala National Park, leopards, beautiful country. And as you can see from the view from the hotel we use here, you're not roughing it or slowing it in any shape whatsoever. Highly recommended. Talking about the slightly more basic nights on a trip to Jordan, anybody that's been to Jordan, if you don't camp under the stars at Wadi Rum, then you're missing out on a huge, fun, authentic, different, memorable experience. And often clients will say to me, I'm not sure about camping under the stars. You know, I'm a bit nervous of that one night. I'm really a hotel person. It's only for one night. And the next night, you'll be back in a 3 or 4-star hotel. We've got 4-star properties that we use in Jordan as well, where you will have all mod cons. And the feedback forms of a trip like a week in Jordan are often that the night under the stars with the campfire is the best night of the trip, even though many clients were apprehensive about it when booking. And I think when you've got stars like this and you're outdoors and a world away from the stresses and strains of home, that's what makes a key difference. Italy, and well, particularly Amalfi, which I'll talk about in a minute, is our single biggest selling destination. Now, that should tell any of you that are sort of a bit unsure about adventure travel, that actually adventure travel is for everybody. Doesn't matter of your age, what you really want to do on a holiday, or if you prefer beach holidays or cruises. An adventure holiday can be for everyone. And the fact that Amalfi and the Amalfi Coast is our biggest selling holiday should back that claim up. For years, we've operated in Tuscany and the Dolomites, but in the last 5 years, Sicily and now Puglia, down in the heel of Italy between Bari and Lecce, is one of our biggest selling tours. Beautiful area, wonderful food, and you've got the old Trulies here to stay in for one night on the trip. For lovers of the cold, we have some great Arctic trips to Sweden, Northern Lights tours, which we've operated now successfully for a few years. Great sightings from Iceland particularly. To those looking for warmer climes and wildlife on our premium Masai Mara migration trips. If it's a wildlife, you know, I love the trips that we do. You don't stay with a tour operator for 20 years if you don't believe in the tours and love them. To me, I love the cycling tours and the wildlife and trekking trips. And something like if you're thinking about a safari and you've got a lot of choices, a lot of options, to me, personal opinion, Masai Mara migration season, August, September, October, breathtaking. And this is the type of accommodation you can get on our premium tour. Now, I know a lot of you and Miles Morgan clients are very keen cruisers, and this is an area that we do slightly differently. We have got adventure expedition cruising to the polar regions, the Arctic at Spitzbergen for polar bears, and Antarctica trips that also include South Georgia and the Falklands, and huge penguin sightings. Experts on board. We've had Chris Packham has taken Exodus groups, Paul Goldstein, for dedicated photography charters as well. Maldives trips. So we've got wildlife based trips in the Maldives, and a whole new fleet of catamarans that will take you to the Galapagos, cruising around various itineraries there, and most of the islands that you'd want to see we can include, and anything from a 1 week to a 3-week Galapagos itinerary, which could be combined with Peru and the Inca Trail, for example. So it's exciting. I get excited. I still get very excited by these trips. You know, no one's been everywhere. Galapagos, I haven't been to. Love to go to the Galapagos. There's a huge array out there. And the wildlife tours, to me, this is where more than ever you recognize and appreciate the skills of your local guides and experts. When you're with guides that can tell you the name of a bird, when they're listening to the birds and know the song of many different birds, when they can see leopard, cheetah, and you're thinking, I can't see a thing. What are you looking at? And it takes you 5 minutes before you've even seen it. You know, we have these guides. We choose our itineraries very, very carefully, and this comes down to experience and knowledge. India, you know, Ranthambore, we used to take clients on the game viewing trips and tiger viewing to Ranthambore, but sadly through poaching, the numbers have diminished. So we've stopped going there, and we go to Bandhavgarh, and Kana, and Pench, and the sightings are great. The numbers are on the increase. Paul Goldstein has done a huge amount in work and charity and fundraising with local communities so that they appreciate the need for tourists to come to their areas at Bandhavgarh to see tigers, because it's money going into locally owned restaurants, accommodations that they benefit from. And that's what Exodus does really, really well. To me, top wildlife experiences in the world would be either of the polar regions for polar bears, penguins, Masai Mara migration, tigers in India, and mountain gorillas in Rwanda. Special, very special experiences. Not cheap anymore because of the permits. You've got to have a permit to go and see them. But I think a good example is we often have clients that you can buy an extra permit, and they've been out there on a trip. They've seen the gorillas once. That's your time. Can I buy another permit? That was just so special. I want to go back. And these are all, you know, I'm loath to use the term trip of a lifetime, but I think more than ever, many of us are thinking, I've thought about doing this for 10 years, 15 years, whether it's Vietnam, Costa Rica, Arctic. Now is the time to actually seriously think, right, we've had a miserable year or so, let's get on and book it. Sightings of polar bears at Spitzbergen are incredible. Experts on board. We partner with polar expedition company Quark Expeditions, who only do the polar regions. They're not doing the Med, they're not doing the Caribbean, they know polar, they are the experts. That's why we partner with people that specialize in these regions. Now, I'm going to quickly talk you through an Amalfi trip. I don't want to bore you for too long, but it is, I think, time to give you an example of an itinerary. And the reason I choose Amalfi is it's our biggest selling holiday. Italy is on a lot of people's radar. I've got a quick video, and then I'll quickly talk you through the tour itself. So enough of me for a minute. Enjoy this.
I can't hear the sound very well, Dan, if there's meant to be sound.
Apologies if there was no sound on that video, but hopefully, well, it's far more interesting than listening to me drone on, hopefully. What that should do, I really hope, is whet your appetite for Amalfi. There's a reason Italy is so popular. It's fairly clear in the food, the wine, the scenery, that makes it such a popular destination all year round. And having done this trip a couple of times, and I know there are staff at Mars Morgan that have also done this holiday, what brings it alive to me is the people that run the hotel. So to give you a run through of how the trip works, it's very straightforward. Fly into Naples. So we can probably get flights from Bristol to Naples. It's a 2-hour transfer from Naples to our base in Bomarano, if you can see that down there on the map, just northeast of Positano. Now, it's really important to me that if any of you are thinking the accommodation's basic or I'm used to 5-star holidays, the feedback we get from the Hotel Due Torri is incredible. It's a humble abode. There's nothing flash about it. We don't do flash or ostentatious. That is not our style. Equally, it's reflected in the price. This trip will lead in at about £1,100 for a week, including flights and including nearly all meals. But it's the staff, the character, the authenticity. There's one key word. Miles will probably put me on the spot again at the end, and I will say to him, authenticity. That's what you're getting with Exodus. You're getting local staff, you're getting happy customers, clients enjoying food, wine, being sociable, trying regional specialities. Just the hotel. It's a 3-star accommodation with a swimming pool, but it's in Bomarano. We don't stay at the coast down in Amalfi because it's incredibly busy. It's very touristy. And my humble opinion is it can be a little bit of a rip-off. So we stay in the hills above the coastline. It's cooler. The staff treats us very well. It's a little village and it's typically Amalfi. The staff are from the area. They treat you as a member of the family. If you're in Amalfi, you're treated as another tourist because they're jaded. They get thousands of tourists. But what brings this trip to the fore is the food and the views. I would encourage any of you who are thinking of doing this but might think, I'm not a massive walker, I don't really get into the walking. But to me, this will be some of the finest, if not the finest, clifftop seaside walking in Europe. Got some brilliant walking in the UK. Sadly, the weather doesn't always play ball. In Amalfi, it's reliable. And if you go off season in May and October, you'll get great weather. The views are fabulous. And the great thing is, if you do a little bit of walking, it means you can have that extra bit of food, another glass of wine in the evening, safe in the knowledge that you are going to burn it off or you did burn it off earlier in the day. It's sociable. It's fun. These aren't stuffy, dress up for dinner tours. There are cooking demonstrations in the evening in the kitchen, pizza evenings. We go and visit areas that produce limoncello, mozzarella. And it's just really, really enjoyable and authentic. There will be opportunities on the tour for day trips to Capri. We go to Positano and Sorrento, and the walking really is very manageable. But again, as I alluded to when I talked about Andalusia and the farmhouse, if you're in a couple and want to do this trip, but you're thinking, well, I'm more into walking than he is or whatever, you can stay at the accommodation by the pool, potter around Bomarano in the village. You don't have to do all of the walking. But I strongly recommend you do because you will feel fantastic for it. And for the culture vultures, if walking isn't your thing, the beauty of Exodus is the strength of our itineraries, the variety of our itineraries. So we'll have a cultural trip to Amalfi that will focus on Herculaneum, Pompeii, Vesuvius. So you'll get more of the cultural element to the tour, all in the hands of very knowledgeable local guides. The food's sensational. And when I talk about pricing and value for money, which is a key area why we've won these awards with Which, to get an Amalfi trip for about £1,100 with nearly all meals included is really good value for money because it's not cheap out there dining out with really good quality food. I am very close to being done. So thank you for your patience in hearing me prattle on for so long. I hope you're still on the tea and not the gin. Sociable groups again. And this is what's really important to our ethos at Exodus. Unlike if you go to a beach resort or Dubai, you lie on a sunbather, you've got nothing, a sun lounger, you've got nothing in common with the people next to you. On an Exodus walking holiday, an Exodus wildlife trip, you've immediately got a bond. You've got something in common because you're into a similar type of experience as the person that you didn't know when you boarded the plane in the UK, but you will get to know very well during the trip. Now, really, just to finish off, and thank you all so much for coming along and staying with me. I'm going to do an exclusive for Miles Morgan clients, booked through any Miles Morgan store by the end of April. So you've got about 5 weeks, 5% discount on any Exodus tour to Italy. And bearing in mind, we've got around 25 Italian itineraries. So quite a few choices, not just Amalfi, Sicily, Tuscany, Puglia, Prosecco. Funnily enough, Prosecco seems to be very popular. I can't think why, but yeah, that's an area that is really untouristy. If you think you've been to Italy and you've done Amalfi, or you know Italy pretty well, and it's a bit touristy in some areas, Prosecco is a really good one to look at. But talk to the branches, talk to the staff. We'll give a 5% discount, and that can be. I'm not expecting you to travel, even if you could, this summer. That can be for travel all through 2022. So I think 35 minutes or so. Thank you all so much for your time. But please ask, I'm not going anywhere. Questions, please fire away. I'm happy to answer them where I can.
Well done, Dan. Well, please ask away in the chat. Just tap the screen and you can just type into the chat any questions you might have for Dan. I'm going to start with a couple, and I think probably you might have answered certainly one of these, and I probably know what you're going to say, but I'll ask it anyway. Exodus do, exploring adventure travel. So do lots of other companies do that type of trip. What is, in a nutshell, what's the difference with Exodus?
Oh, Miles, and
it's got to be snappy. Don't give me half an hour.
You love to put me on the spot, don't you? Expertise, 47 years experience, award-winning. But the critical thing for me are the guides. These aren't guides that we've just picked up or worked with for a few months and are giving them a trial. Many of the guides and local partners we work with, Amalfi being prime example, Kenya, prime example, Peru, Vietnam, we've worked with as a company for more than a decade. That builds trust, expertise, and knowledge. They know what our clients like because they've done these tours time and time again, and we move and we react to feedback.
Yeah, I think, the expertise, I think, is big in this area because what we found is an awful lot of people have jumped into this sector, people that weren't known for it, all of a sudden think they're experts in it. And in fairness to Exodus, you most certainly are. So, I would echo that answer, Dan. You've got some tricky. I'm delighted to say you've got some tricky questions. I'm delighted with these. First one. What have you got? You've got trips to Greece that include cultural and wildlife. What have you got to offer? You got stuff in that field?
To Greece, was that?
Yes, to Greece.
Yeah, it's okay. Straight away, wildlife, absolutely no. But walking on Evia has always been a very popular trip, and that's the key one I would plump for because I know Thanos is our guide out there. He puts on an outstanding trip, and I'm pretty confident he's got 2 or 3 itineraries. The one that stands out to me is Evia and walking. We might have a cultural trip. I'd need to check that off the top of my head. I need to see if we're still operating it. Wildlife, no.
Great question, Catherine. That certainly got him going. Very good. I like that. Another one. Could you tell us a bit more about the cycling tours that you do?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I deliberately steered clear of cycling because I know it's a bit niche and a bit specialist. These are some of my favorite trips. I'm not a huge cyclist myself, but in terms of seeing a country, seeing things differently, getting a bit fitter, I think it's one of the best ways you can do a holiday. Biggest selling cycling tours off the top of my head are to Vietnam, Cuba, Costa Rica, and Croatia. We've got over 45 tours on a bike. Now, I don't know how strong a cyclist you might be or how tough you want the trip, but to give you a little bit of an idea, an average distance on one of our group cycling tours would be around 20 to 35 kilometers a day with rest days. But the beauty of Exodus tours, and this is where the staff will help you in branch, is that all of our tours come with detailed trip notes. All of our tours come with an activity grading. So if you're an occasional cyclist and thinking, well, I don't mind a bit of bike riding, but I don't really want to go on a holiday and break myself and think I'm going to be absolutely ruined because I'm doing 60K a day, the staff at MMT can talk you through the easy to moderate tours that will be 20 to 30K a day, plenty of stops, cracking way to see a country. And we've got them all through Europe. The big ones to me would be Croatia in Europe, certain areas of Spain and Italy, long haul, definitely Vietnam and Cuba, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, and Panama always gets great reviews. But there's a huge array there. Bikes you can hire locally, so you don't have to take your own bike. So yeah, there's a huge array there, Miles, of choice.
It's a great example, actually, that one. I've been to Cuba.
Yeah.
There is no way that I would go and think I could do a cycling holiday myself to Cuba. Whereas, to go there and have your guys not only organize it for me, but take me to all the best places on a bike is fantastic.
Exactly. The logistics of doing this on your own in places like Cuba, Nicaragua and Panama, Vietnam, it's virtually impossible. So
Yeah.
in terms of when you talk about the group travel experience, particularly for the adventure or the active stuff like cycling and walking, really tricky to do it on your own and expensive and time consuming. Do it in a group with experts that are transferring your bags. You've got minibus transfers on the busy parts of the road that you don't want to cycle on. And it's all really, the facilitation is very, very good. We've been doing cycling tours for 30 years.
Yeah, which was before, well before it became incredibly fashionable like it is now.
Exactly that.
Yeah. You're going to be very pleased with Andrew, because Andrew says the guides are excellent. Also, on peace of mind, I was in the Nepal earthquake and the UK team were in daily contact with our families, giving us updates on safety while we had no communications whatsoever in the mountains. So,
Andrew, that is fantastic. Just give me your address again. The £20 is in the post. Thank you.
He's actually continued to say, I'd be interested in some of the smaller South American countries like Paraguay or Uruguay. Do you do stuff there?
Very good question. Simple, quick answer is no, we don't operate in either of those countries at the moment. I would be more than happy to talk South America, but really, and again, it's me, I'm not, no false promises, but to me, would we operate in Uruguay and Paraguay? I'm not sure at the moment. I don't think there are any plans to. Our stronghold in South America and where we get fabulous feedback would be Peru, Bolivia, Patagonia, a little bit of Brazil. In the past, we've looked at Guyana as well, but really it's those areas. So at the moment, sorry, there's nothing Paraguay and Uruguay based.
Okay. One from me. So I've never done it at all before.
I missed that, Miles. You've never done a what? Sorry.
I've never done anything like an Exodus holiday.
Yeah.
I'm new to it. What sort of thing would be an ideal kind of toe in the water type of trip that you would recommend? Would it be a walking in Tuscany or what type of thing?
Spot on, absolutely that. If I'm talking to a client and a client says to me, Dan, I love the thought of this. I've never done anything like it. I've not normally done anything slightly active. I normally do a cruise or a beach, but I really want to give this a whirl. Two things. obviously I ask questions of the client because I want to get the right trip for them. So it's how much walking do you think you want to do, or how active are you? And that's when we look at the gradings of the tour, because all of the tours are graded. We can make the fit with confidence that the client is going to be booked on the right trip. In a nutshell, if you were to pin me down and say, don't waffle, give me a trip, Amalfi Coast, every time. If we're looking at Europe, I would look at highlights of Amalfi Coast. If the client thinks, yeah, but I like a bit of walking, do the walking on the Amalfi Coast trip. If they're thinking, I've done loads of Italy, I'm looking at long haul here, I want something exciting, then, or mid haul, I'll give you a couple of options. A week in Jordan, fabulous, fabulous trip, Jordan, and good value for money, great shoulder season weather-wise. Otherwise, long haul, depending on what you're looking for, if it's natural beauty, Costa Rica every time. If it's a bit of a buzz and some hustle and bustle and people and markets, Vietnam.
Very good. I think what I would say is that I don't know whether there's anybody on this Zoom that that books in our Chepstow office, but Jane, who works there, has been a travel agent pretty much all of her life. And Jane did the Amalfi Coast trip and said it was, without a doubt, the best trip she had ever done in her life on any of the travels she'd taken. And that was somebody that's very well traveled, gone to a lot of destinations, and she absolutely loved it. She couldn't say enough about how fantastic and what a great experience it was. And
that's really great to hear, because obviously, Miles, you know yourself, I've worked for the company for a long time. I work in sales, and I'd hate clients to think, well, he's a salesman, he's just, of course, he's going to say it's brilliant. When you hear it from clients and when you hear it from travel agents that are very well traveled, that to me means everything and so much more.
Well, I think even more so because before Jane went, she was, oh, this will be nice. There wasn't an expectation that it would be such an amazing experience.
Yeah.
But afterwards, that was her takeout, that was just the very best trip. So, you know,
that's really good,
that's
good to hear.
A very good recommendation. Very good recommendation. What have we got here then? Trips for cyclists.
Yeah.
Catherine, I'm not exactly sure what your question is. Trips for a cyclist and married to a walker, culture and nature lover. Oh, so, okay. I think what you're saying is, so is there a cycling trip for her because she's married to a guy who is a walker, culture vulture and nature lover? What would you recommend?
Other way round, actually. Other way round, but yeah, hubby's taken
other way round.
And I'm not a cyclist at all, but obviously it'd be quite nice to go on the same holiday.
Yeah.
Now, that's an interesting one. Firstly, what we have introduced mainly on a few European itineraries are e-bikes. So if you're not, one half of the couple is not into cycling at all, the e-bikes are a great way to get on the same trip. Because with the cycling tours, and again, I'm always honest, even the softest group cycling tours, the clients need to be fairly competent cyclists, and there'll be very few days that will be less than 25, 30K. Now, I'm just going to throw something out there, which I haven't mentioned, but the staff will know about, is Headwater. Headwater are a sister company, high quality. You know, they're a notch up in terms of accommodation from Exodus. They're 4-star boutique properties. I even had part of my honeymoon in one of their properties in Catalonia, but that's not for now. These are self-guided tours. So if you're comfortable with the fact that it's just the two of you and no guide, these are much softer trips, and the cycling would be very minimal. So if you're new to cycling or not that keen on cycling, that's where you could do the same trip. Do you see where I'm coming from? Because otherwise the group tours, you know, they are cycling trips, and you'd be cycling most days with a group who are all going to be cyclists, and I'd hate to get you on the wrong trip. Do you see what I mean?
I think the suggestion of that along with the e-bike are great ones.
Yeah.
I mean, my neighbours are around 80 years old, and they've just got e-bikes. themselves. So
I tried
yeah.
one a couple of years ago. In fact, Ian in the Taunton branch was on the trip. We all trialed an e-bike because it's when we first looked at using them. This was probably 3 or 4 years ago in Portugal. They're brilliant. They really are. And I think that's what's important to me is I understand that a lot of our bookings will be couples and 2 people traveling together. It is often the case that one half of the couple is more into cycling or more into walking. But by talking to the staff that know us and they know their way around an Exodus brochure and where to find these trips, it doesn't mean you're going to be excluded, but it's imperative that we know what we're talking about and get you on a trip that is the right level. And an e-bike trip is a great introduction.
Really good. Very good. Well, I can't see. Let me just have a last look just to check there aren't any more questions. No, I think you've managed to knock them off very well, Mr. Jackson. Well, I'd just like to say thank you. It was great to listen to you, and I think my takeaway from it was more than anything was the range of product that you offer is huge. You tend to think of adventure stuff. You'd probably go, oh yeah, they're going to do safaris. They're going to do maybe walking on the Amalfi Coast. But the range you've got, particularly the cruise stuff that you've got, the Maldives stuff you've got, huge range of stuff that just across the board. So I think people should certainly pick up the brochure and have a look, and they might well be surprised by what's in there that will excite them, would probably be the word I would use in terms of the trips that you do.
Miles, that's exactly the point. And just with all the clients that are still out there and listening, thank you so much for coming along. And again, it's really important to me that in 40 minutes, it's extremely difficult to get a whole company's portfolio across when we've got a 47-year history and 450 tours. I can guarantee there will be a suitable tour out there for all of you. And that's where the staff and the expertise of the Miles Morgan travel agents in branches will be able to help you, because as Miles alluded to there, it's probably surprising to some of you that we've got Galapagos trips, we've got Maldives, we do go to Greece. There's a huge choice, but please talk to the staff, the agents in the branches, and they can talk you through it and point you in the right direction.
Super. Well, Dan, thank you very much for your time. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Hope you found it inspirational. And if you don't want to fly and flop, I think it's fair to say that that Exodus and Dan is definitely your company. So do as he said, get in touch with one of the shops and they can give you more information on any of the tours that Exodus offer. So thank you, Dan, and thank you, everybody, for joining. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks a lot. All the best, everyone. Thank you.